It's Barton and 25 here, watching lunch of Soyuz.
Still getting good calls. The vehicle now on internal power. There's that first umbilical separating away. Pretty soon we'll have auto sequence start. At this point, the ground propellant feeds all the fuel flow into the rocket has cut off. We are under 30 seconds.
Auto sequence
Okay,
initiated.
boost. Ignition of the engines of the RD-108 and MS-07s, I believe.
And there you can see the engine starting to fire, ramping up.
You will
the second umbilical tower already separated.
Engine
80% and liftoff. Drew Foysel, Oleg Artemyev, and Ricky Arnold taking off on their way to the International Space Station. Getting a great view of those first stage engines as they light up the night sky. That first stage delivering over 930,000 pounds of thrust.
20 seconds into flight, engines are steady.
27.
Oh no,
Oleg Artemyev and Ricky Arnold taking off on their way to the International Space Station. Getting a great view of those first stage engines as they light up the night sky. That first stage delivering over 930,000 pounds of thrust.
20 seconds into flight, engines are steady.
20 seconds so far since liftoff, getting good calls that the stages are performing nominally or normally. Looking very bright here on camera. I can tell you when you see these at night, it's like looking at the sun. It almost hurts your eyes, but you can't tear your eyes away from it.
And yes, we are seeing you on camera 1 screen.
So I'm slowly checking.
50 seconds since liftoff, everything's still nominal or normal. Soyuz rocket doing its job. All of the parameters or the data points for its trajectory looked, continuing to rocket across the night sky. So we're 70 seconds, over a minute and 10 seconds into the flight. The vehicle is traveling at over 1,100 miles per hour.
"90 seconds into flight."
So again, this first stage going to continue firing until just before the 2-minute mark. First we'll hear the escape tower being jettisoned, and then following that, those strap-on boosters, those 4 liquid-fueled boosters on the first stage will be jettisoned. We should hopefully get a good view of that here on the video, as it is a very crystal clear night. View inside the cabin, the crew is still doing good. And getting confirmation from the visiting vehicle officer here in Houston, good first stage separation, and the escape tower has been jettisoned. It drops away at an altitude of about 28 statute miles, the Soyuz traveling at over 3,300.
80 seconds into flight.
Everything's still looking great for the rocket, over 48 miles in altitude already. Traveling at a speed of about 4,700 miles per hour, that core stage. And there we go, getting our first view of Ricky Arnold there in the right seat, all smiles looking like. And we can see his 0G indicator just over his shoulder there, the hula girl for sign Hawaii.
Copy, everything is fine on board. We're feeling excellent.
This core stage is about 56 feet in length, 13.5 feet in diameter. Provides between 100,000 and 222,000 pounds of thrust. That depending on where they are in the Earth's atmosphere. And that continues for 3 minutes and 28 seconds of operation. Once this second stage has done its job, it'll cut off, and we'll see the third stage begin to ignite, and then the second stage will cut away and then drop back down to Earth. Also, if you look at this animation just before that orange section kind of in the middle of the rocket, there's a lattice-like structure, and that allows the third stage engine to fire before that second stage drops away. But 4 minutes 20 seconds since liftoff, everything's still continuing to go great, with the Soyuz getting good performance calls from the teams over in the Russian Mission Control Center. Koryoff.
Prior to second stage separation, copy Baikonur lead, we're standing by.
And so while they continue to fly uphill, I've always wanted to ask, when we get those in-cabin views, it almost looks boring for the crew in there. Like it almost looks like there's not a whole lot going on, but it's got to feel completely different when you're sitting in that seat.
It feels completely different when you're in that seat. There is nothing boring about this phase of spaceflight at all. This is about as exciting as it comes. Landing is maybe a bit more but this is as exciting as it comes.
Copy.
Alright, well, all the crew inside. Again, NASA astronauts Drew Foysel and Ricky Arnold and Oleg Artemiev, the Soyuz commander, there in the center seat. Over 5 minutes and 23 seconds into their flight. Keep an eye on all of those different talismans hanging over them. Once that third stage cuts off, you should see those start to float, and then that'll be kind of your first view of life in microgravity.
Excellent. In sail mode. Copy. 340 seconds into flight. Copy.
Yeah, you can see the G's at the bottom. How far they got. They got up to 4. They dropped down to 1, went up to about 2.
And so at this point, the second stage booster is already cut away. That coming in at an altitude of about 105 miles, now being propelled by that single engine of the third stage, providing 67,000 pounds of thrust. It's going to continue to burn for 4 minutes and 2 seconds until that 8-minute and 45-second post-launch mark, at which point it will cut away and separate, and the spacecraft will be in orbit.
Everything on board is fine.
Dan, everybody's always asking what it feels like inside when you launch, and in the lower right of this schematic here, you can see it almost looks like a zigzag pattern there.
Zigzag?
Jigsaw pattern, but
okay.
That's the G-load that the crew is feeling in their seat. So you can see first stage goes up to 4G, and then when first stage cuts out, there's that huge vertical drop-off, and then second stage builds up as the fuel vertical drop-off, and then second stage builds up as the fuel weight reduces, and then there's another vertical drop-off, and now they're painting a new line on third stage, so they're not even Earth's gravity right now, so they're just gently being pushed back in their seat, just enough to know that that engine is running.
Roll or nominal. Copy.
Those are pretty quick drop-offs.
They're instantaneous drop-offs, so you definitely feel those. Those are very dynamic phases of the ascent.
Alright, well, still getting good calls, normal performance of this third stage engine. We're about 7.5 minutes into the flight, velocity approaching 13,500 miles an hour.
Copy.
Again, once that third stage is done with its job, the Soyuz will separate, then they'll execute a series of commands, all pre-programmed in, to prepare the Soyuz to fly around in outer space, and those will allow all the onboard computers to deploy the solar arrays, which you get the blue cells folded up alongside the body, and also a bunch of antennas, but everything's still looking great. We should have about 40 seconds until that third stage cutoff.
Nominal on board, and the cruise mode is set. And you have 30 seconds prior to third stage separation. Copy. 500 seconds into flight, everything is nominal. .510 seconds into flight. Seconds into flight. Please be for GECA 3 command. We are ready.
And there we see that bit of a jolt. You can see the talisman starting to float, and I think they're in outer space now.
They're in low Earth orbit.
Welcome to low Earth orbit.
Congratulations with the successful launch and insertion into orbit. Have an excellent flight. Good luck.
And we have confirmation the third stage has shut down and separated.
Hawaii, Moscow.
And getting confirmation from the visiting vehicle officer, all solar arrays and antennas have been deployed. So a healthy Soyuz spacecraft now in orbit. 3 crew members, Drew Feustel, Ricky Arnold, and Oleg Artemiev, ready to chase down the International Space Station. So their first taste of microgravity.
So as I was in the video,
It's
here
got
comes
to be
the
a
launch of
feeling
Soyuz
of
MS-08 on
relief,
Barton 25.
accomplishment, excitement, wonder. I
Goodbye.
can't imagine what's going through your head when you're